Hi everyone, and welcome to our next lesson. And in this lesson we will discuss CSS box model. Now we have touched this subject a little bit in our previous videos that we did, but in this video I want to go to a little bit more in depth and detail. So how do we do that? Let's start off with our first one. So let's do create a div. So you guys know now how to create a div, and let's add an H2. Just say this is the title, and let's just add a paragraph just for some niceness. You guys know how to add dummy text, so lorem 50, and Emmett will sort it out for us. So let's do that. And what we're going to do first, let's go into our style sheet, and we're going to do the universal selector, and then we're going to just add a margin of 0 and a padding of 0. Right, so we got our margin set at 0 and our padding set at 0. So that means all elements will have no margins and no padding. Great stuff. Right. So let's quickly go into our Firefox or whatever browser you're using to kind of see how this would look like. As you can see, we got our box model right there. We have our H2 title and our paragraph text right there. As you can see, there's no spacing, no padding, nothing. So let's quickly press F12 on your keyboard, and you will have this little window popping up, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger for you guys to see, just to make it better. So right there. So we explained this in a previous video, but for the sake of continuity, or that's not the right word to use. But anyway, if we, let's say, for the sake of for the users that haven't seen the previous videos, I'm just kind of want to make it easier. So this is called our DevTools, right? Just a quick recap. And then we have our inspector to kind of show us our HTML. You can see the doc type HTML. There's the that is the HTML5 doc type. And then we got that as well. The language is English. Blah blah blah. Let me go skip forward, otherwise the guys have already seen it. Alright, so here we have our box model. As you can see, the yellow part right there is all 0. This is our margin, and this is our border. As you can see, all at 0, and this is our padding, all at 0. Now let's quickly go to CSS. Then we're going to give it a margin right round. Okay, so and we're going to come back here. Let's go to CSS. All right, in CSS, what we're going to do is we're going to do a div. Let's continue practicing. Let me just give this div an ID or a class. You guys can decide whatever you want to do, ID or class. I'm just going to use this one as a box, a class of box. And let's save it quickly. Right, so it's saved now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a class, class with a dot notation and box. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give it a margin right round of, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, let's go to our browser. Now, as you can see, this was our div right here. So you see this div. We selected in a box. As you can see, our element right here, Let's just zoom into it a little bit more. As you can see that this box right here with the title, as you can see in your preview of the window, you can see the yellow all around it. Now that is our box. Inside that box right there, so all the information right here, so that you have to, and then this side there, you see the blue part right here that I'm highlighting there. Now this is our content. So let's say that's our 20 pixels. As you can see, right around we added our 20 pixels. Now what if we want to add some padding? Now let's quickly go and add a padding, and we're going to add a border just to kind of distinguish that little diff right there. So we kind of see the box model. Alright, so we're back in CSS. So let's quickly add a border. So how do we add a border? Now border works like this. You type in border. Now this, if you want to type in a border, right around. So for us, we're going to add 2 pixels. You can have solid. You can have dashed. Dashed like this. Dashed. Okay, so you can choose, or dotted. So for us, what we're going to choose. But for us, what we're going to do is we're going to choose solid. So that's a solid. And then obviously we're going to choose a color. Now, what we want to do is we want to select a color. I like green. Alright, so we're going to choose, because it's quite kind of easy to see. So we have our margin at 20 pixels. We're going to give it a padding of 10 pixels. And we have our border, and yeah, let's do this. Padding 10 pixels. Right, so we got our selector. We're selecting the box. We have our declaration, and we got our property and its value. And remember, we end it off with a semicolon. Right, so without the semicolon, what will happen is, let's say we do this. As you can see, I'm already getting an error because CSS doesn't know what to do here right now. So you can see this doesn't even have the right color, but I need to end it off like that. Alright, so let's quickly see in Firefox how this looks like. And voila, we have our green border. Right there, we have our, let's select our div quickly. Now you can see the box model in it. If we have a look around here, we see the 20 pixels right there, 20 pixels. Then we have our 10, the purple, and we have our blue for the content. It even gives you the size of what the size of that content is, and then we obviously have our border right there. Now, let's quickly see this. So we have our padding, our margin. But let's say you want to just see what it looks like if we added 40 pixels on top. Now, as you can see, if I highlight over the border, see, like if I go over the box model, you can see the 40 pixels there, and if I want to put 40 pixels right there, it's quite nice so that you can preview your content right there. So remember, the reason why they call it the box model is like your margins are normally on the outside of your border, where your border would be. But normally you don't have everything. Kind of say that even if you don't see the border, there is a border. So let's do this. Make it 0, 0, 0, 0. So right now you don't see the border, but there is an invisible border right there. So if you go over the margin, you can see it right there. Let's just bring this, make it a little bit smaller. that a little bit up. As you can see, there is an invisible border right there. Now the margin is the outside part of your content. The padding is the inside part of that border. So what will happen if I increase the padding? This content will get smaller and smaller. So let's quickly see in CSS what that will do. Let's quickly go. So in CSS, we want to, let's make the padding something ridiculous like 40 pixels. Let's quickly go to our browser. Now, as you can see, the padding, the content on the inside will get smaller and smaller because it have less space now to operate in. So let's increase this to 100 and 100. As you can see, oh, that's too big. 100 there. And let's do another 100 here and another 100 here. Now, as you can see, the content, as you can see right there. What did I do? 1,000 at the bottom. Oh boy, it's a bit too much. Fresh. 100. Come on, not 1,000. 1,000. As you can see, but there's obviously just so far it can squish it because of you still have your content to deal with. Alright, so the content on inside will shrink obviously to its maximum limit, but when it's on the outside, let's refresh it quickly. As you can see, it will just go back. So that's our normal padding. Let's put our 60. Pixels. This is all preview, so it doesn't save it. Let's make this one 60 pixels as well. As you can see, it kind of move our content in proportion to the center, because obviously I made it all around 60 pixels. Right, so but that is our box model. So what we have is we've got our margins on the outside of the border and our padding is on the inside. So the content on the inside will get smaller and smaller. As you can see, this right here, this little window right here, just look if I do this. 60. See? What is this? You see how it's getting smaller. But let's make it 20. So the space that it works with now gets bigger and bigger. Alright. So just remember that the content shrinks with padding, but obviously till a maximum amount, and the margins is on the outside. Just to remember. So what the margin does is give space between this part of, let's say there's another div. Let's create another div quickly. Alright, let's create this another div with the exact same properties. So we just copy it down exactly like it is. And let's go back to the browser. You know what? I'm going to cancel that because we already got an H1 there. So let me go to my H1 so that we don't confuse ourselves. So H1, we can just say margin bottom of 20 pixels. Let's save that. Let's go back to our browser. Alright, so we got on H1 there. Let's select it. As you can see, it's got a border of 20 pixels. But let's increase that to 50. Just watch what happens with the box model underneath it. As you can see, it moves. It gives it the margin between that box and our heading. How cool is that? Alright. Thank you guys for watching, and in the next video we will go over some more properties of CSS, like what we have done now, the padding and all that kind of stuff, the different properties and things like that we will discuss further in the next episode. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and give it a like if you like the video, give it a thumbs down if you dislike it, and please give us a how can I put it, constructive feedback or negative feedback, it doesn't matter. I just want to continue improving the channel in order to give you guys some better content. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.